Well, a very good evening to you. This is Business Today. It's the 27th of January 2016, and as always, we're ready to present to you our local personality, our business personality, business stock market updates, as well as local and global updates for you every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. only on Channel I. So join us today as we try to dip into a selected industry. Today's selected industry is, of course, beautician and styling. That is the industry we have picked for you today. And some of the headlines for you today would be that Lanka stocks closed on 0.5%, and that won't cause recession as BOFA China will avoid hard landing. And in overseas stories, the number every Chinese stock investors is watching will be analyzed severely on today's Business Today. So join us as we go into analysis on today's show. With that, we're ready to move on to our personality today. So let's take a look at who our personality today is. Personality, however, is Mrs. Nana Karnaratna. She's a beautician and a premier stylist in Colombo. So the streets of Colombo are very, very famous, and we all know who she is. A very warm welcome to you. So today we want to trace not only your beginning, but we also importantly want to find out the challenges and the opportunities you have faced as a female entrepreneur. As you can see, this is a female-dominated program, and we want to see how your success story can inspire others, especially the budding entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So let's start off with where you started. How did you start, and what inspired you to become the woman you are today?
I started very young. I think when I was doing my O-levels, I always wanted to be a hairdresser. So, which is, I think, which was lucky, because to be aware of what you want to know at that age. So that was the beginning. Straight after O-levels, I started my hairdressing, and that was the beginning.
So that is the beginning. So we have some visuals we want to share with you right now about her beginning and where she is right now. So let's take a look at our personality as we progress her achievements step by step. That is us progressing the achievements of the personality on tonight's show, that is Mrs. Nana Karnaratna. So Mrs. Karnaratna, we were progressing the developments of your career step by step, but if you have any questions you want to ask for you, what you can simply do is write to us on Business Today Channel I on our Facebook page, and we can talk to you live on the Facebook page. So post us your questions now and we can ask you the questions. We can post the questions to our personality of today. So there we go. We had a brief introduction to you. So let's talk in detail about your mission and importantly your vision for tomorrow.
Actually, I worked for so long, and I would like very much to give back to the industry, because everything I have, the recognition I have, the achievements I have, all that is because of the hair and beauty industry that I have worked for. So, and my experience is vast, the contacts I have are vast, so I would like to give back to the industry, especially in Sri Lanka, and bring it into the standard, the professional standard that is much needed. That's what I'm trying to do now.
Right. So So before we progress further into the discussion, the number for you is 2501610. That is the number. If you have any questions, you want to talk to this lovely lady here, this inspiring personality on tonight's show, the number for you once again is 2501610. Alternatively, you can write to us on Business Today on our Facebook fan page, and we can post all the questions you have to her, and we can have the questions ready for you. So there we go. So we talked about what you want to do. Let's talk a little bit about personality development. From your point of view, how important is personality development for a lady?
I think it's absolutely important. Everything is about the personality. We all have personalities, but how well do you project it in a positive manner is the most important. It's who you are, what you are, and what you want the other people to be see. So I think personality is very important. May you be a working woman or just staying at home, whatever, married, unmarried. I think personality is everything. So building it up is your duty. It's your responsibility.
Right. So along those lines, I'm sure you've implemented a few key projects, as we saw in the clip just a few minutes ago. So let's try to elaborate on some of the projects you have implemented.
Actually, personal development is one aspect of my business. I have a company called Image Consultants, where we do personal development programs for individuals, groups, companies, schools, all aspects of the society. And it's a dire need. People talk about so many problems for us now. Just now before I came, also at home, they were talking about the lack of labor. There's such a big unemployment problem in this country, but at the same time the entire business world is looking for people to employ. So there's a gap. There are unemployed people and there are people to be employed. There's a shortage. So the gap. The reason is that people don't know what they want. People they don't understand what they are capable of. They don't understand themselves, and they haven't developed their personalities. So at each level. So I think it's a need that has to start from schools, homes, and we are trying to do our bit to make them understand who you are, what you can do, and the potential you have, and how to put your best foot forward and be successful.
Right, so having said that was just a general introduction into the industry that you're so much passionate about. Let's talk a little bit about the historical developments of the industry that you've so much put a lot of heart and emotion
Hair and
into.
beauty industry.
When
we came into the industry, actually when I came into the industry, it was very small, not so developed. We had only a few people like Janet and Moiras who were very successful, but I would say they were very concentrated in Sri Lanka. With the economic freedom in 77-78, we were able to go out. So I think it was Ramanimi and Ramsima, I think, were the first three people who brought in the what can I say, we went out, we were trained in other countries and brought in the difference. But today it's really grown. So the industry has grown in two ways. One, the professional salons have grown, which are very good. Quite a few good professional salons are there, where they give a good service, the staff are well trained, and they run the salons in a very professional manner. Then at the same time, there's another lot of a quarter or a half-baked group of people that have been trained, which to some extent I think even the authorities are responsible, because for the sake of self-employment you train people, and so they have that quality salons which are just dressing brides or at a very low level, because it's a little dangerous, because though we are hairdressers and beauticians, we are the only ones after a doctor who handles a human body. We are not doctors. We should not be compared to doctors. They treat human sicknesses, but we handle human skin, hair. So we really straight away touch the human body. So I think the education, knowledge is absolutely important for that major responsibility. So that part of that segment of the industry needs help to develop and to be streamlined into a good professional professionally run business, because hair and beauty industry, personal care industry is the fastest growing in the world today. And whatever you may be, the poor, middle class, rich, everyone wants to look nice. They spend more money on personal care things, from the creams and the face creams and the gels and all fancy things, than sometimes even food also. So that needs to be given properly to the people. I think it's very important.
Right, so having said that, something I want to talk to you about is, we did mention a bit about some of the challenges that you think the industry is facing. But talking about the general hair and beauty industry in Sri Lanka, what are some of the major challenges that we face as a nation when it comes to the beauty industry?
I think the challenge we have is to streamline the industry, because because of the lack of awareness and maybe the lack of professionalism, in some ways lack of education also, there is danger. There could be a danger of using wrong products. And in fact, we used to work very closely with the CDDA, the Drugs, Devices and Cosmetics Authority, and there were people using straightening lotions, perm lotions, colors in a wrong way at home. Professional products being used at home, and got into big problems, difficulties. So that kind of thing has to be sorted out. And we really sincerely hope, now we are trying to work with the authorities to streamline the salon industry. At the moment, the salon standards have been completed by the SLSI, Sri Lanka Institute of Standards. They have done the draft document, which is complete now. So it streamlines the salons to different grades, A grade. Like the hotels, you can operate at any grade you want, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, like that. So at each level there is a minimum standard required. So we really want to implement that and register all salons, give everybody credibility, help people to educate themselves into the required standard of the work they provide. If you are a barber, provide the barbering education. If you are only dressing brides, provide that education. If you have studied only to dress a bride, it's perfectly alright, but you can't color the hair, you can't straighten the hair, because that qualification you didn't have, because it's dangerous. You are meddling with chemicals. So we would like to bring that standard in, so that everyone has a comfortable working environment.
But so, as you can imagine, the beauty culture industry, given hair, nails, or the beauty on its whole, is a differentiated product. What may be appealing to person A might not be appealing to person B. So, as we said, it's a differentiated product. The taste and preference of one person differs from one person to another. So, what can we do to ensure that the preferences remain very widespread, yet the quality remains intact?
Yes, see, preferences, it's a creative industry, it's an art, it's like clothes, fashions or anything else. So the designs may differ, but the basic technical knowledge, how do you cut the hair, the basic technical knowledge, how do you color the hair, basic techniques of handling the chemicals, what do you do, what do you not do, how do you handle it. Then even makeup, skincare is really very dangerous if you don't know the color. You have to understand the skin, what the skin requires. So those things, once that is given, then the professional knows to expand on it. And it's like you have to first learn to cook rice. Once you learn to cook rice, you make all the types of biryanis and fried rices and all that. So it's like that. So that is all what we need to give them. Beyond that, they are very creative. And then the most important lesson in the hairdressing and beauty therapy education is health and safety. Health and safety is the most important thing. How healthy are you, the diseases, the usage of equipment, towels, how clean are you, how clean is the environment, the salon and the things you use, and also how safe it is for you as well as for your client. Now if you take for instance nail techniques, now everyone thinks it's very easy to do something with the nails and paint them. It's the most dangerous, because today the gel nails, acrylic nails, because we really buff them, we really meddle with the nails, so infections can be very, very dangerous if you don't know how to do it properly.
Right. Another question I want to ask alongside that is, beauty culture is supposed to be a luxury good. So the higher your disposable income is, the higher the demand and the higher the supply for that particular product is, this differentiated product. So what sort of advice would you like to give to people? Because when you go around the business cycle in terms of the business world, of course, if it's a boom in the industry, then the demand is high, therefore the supply will be high. So what sort of comment would you like to make?
I think economic development, when you are economically well off, people spend on everything else. It could be they go to more restaurants, they buy better saris, similarly you do more facials. I agree. But beauty is not a luxury. I wouldn't agree with that. Even the poorer person at that level can afford. I mean, an ordinary man can have a good barber haircut for 150 rupees if the barber knows how to cut the hair. He can still have a good haircut. You can still go for your waxing. You can have a 50 rupees threading. There are people who do it for 50 rupees, as long as that person's technique is good. If she does it properly, why don't you get the threading for 50 rupees? So she charges only 50 rupees because her environment cost is very low, whereas you have a salon in a 5-star hotel, your rent is high and you charge more. But it's still, at each level, I think beauty is available and could be affordable.
Right. So once again, we're in conversation with Mrs. Nana Kararatne. The number for you is 2501610. If you have any questions, you want to talk to her, the lines are open to you right now. You can talk to her directly. So in the meantime, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, so we went through the industry's history, the trends and the causes. Let's talk a little bit about the future direction of the industry in Sri Lanka.
I think compared to many other Asian countries, we are quite developed. We are small, but even if you compare by size, even with India, we are quite developed, especially the hairdressing industry. We have very good stylists, and Sri Lankans are also thirsty for education. Anytime you bring a foreign expert or you have a new course, people like to come. People attend seminars by the hundreds and they like to learn. They pick up something. They are very open-minded about that, like to develop. And also people have started traveling. I remember when in 1996, when we had our first Hair Asia Pacific competition, we first went to India and then to Bangkok. I remember 90% of the beauticians redid their passports because they didn't even have passports. But today people go to Singapore, Bangkok, they travel, they are more exposed. So it's getting better. It's getting better. So the future will be good, but still, what we really want to do two things. We have set up a education institute called IHB because we want to streamline the education, because to the hairdressing and the beauty industry, language should not be a barrier. It's like music or cooking or something like that. It's a skill that language should not be a barrier. So we have now started this education system. We are offering diploma, high diploma, and we hope to go up to the degree level in this education system. That's number one, where I really wish that in the next 5 years we have every single beautician, every single hairdresser and every single barber has the minimum qualification that is required, which includes safety and health and whatever I said earlier. And then of course we would like a very streamlined salon system where people will be checked on an annual basis, their license will be renewed, they will be shown the shortcomings if there are any, then shown the path. For instance, say you have the talent, so you went and learned from somebody to dress a bride, so you have opened a salon and you are extremely successful, but now you want to expand. So next year you want to go into technical work like coloring and perming. Good, do it, but please get yourself qualified next year and then get your license so that you are able to do that. So like that, to encourage people to go to the higher level. We also work with the World Federation of Hairdressers. We are members, and that's another dream we have, that we get world championships. We are now very successful with the zone. Asia Cup, we always win gold and silver and bronze, so it's not a problem now. But with the world championships, we are yet to win a gold, so that's another ambition we have.
Well, many congratulations to you and your team regarding that. Another question that was posed to us by one of our callers was to talk a little bit about the measures that the industry has taken, that implicit measures that industry has taken to eradicate non-standard measures when it comes to the beauty culture industry.
Actually, within our capacity, we have worked with the government, and we have brought the awareness to the government of these three things. Number one is that we need to streamline the salons. Salons are opening up like mushrooms, and I am very worried about the spa industry, because we have one of the best spas in the world, and we have the lousiest. We have the most unacceptable spas, or businesses run as spas, and they are just mushrooming all over. So they have to be streamlined. Spas, barber salons, hairdressing salons, beauty salons, and bridal dressings, all this have to be streamlined and come under a system where it is, as I said, measured annually. Make a very small payment. If you are a small barber salon, maybe 500. If you are a big salon, maybe 5,000. Just a small thing, and streamline. So we really would like to work with the ministry and be recognized as a very successful industry. We are a successful industry, and because we don't have the proper systems, it's only a few salons that pay the VAT, pay the EPF. Not that they don't want, they don't know. Most of the people don't know that there are rules and regulations in the Pradesh, provincial councils and the ministry. So do that. That's number one. Second thing is, we really want to implement the finally approved SLSI standards, because once you implement the standards, everyone will know what is expected. Each one, you are a poor person with a small salon, but you still have to use a professional comb, which is only 250 rupees. You have to wash the towels. You have to make sure the towel is washed. You have to make sure the client is given proper drinking water. So at your level, very simple things. At the higher level, so those two things are the most important things, along with education. I strongly believe if a person is professionally qualified, they will not do wrong, because they have the knowledge what is right. So if these three things, because that is how you take Japan, you take Korea, most of the developed industry, they have to go through the minimum education standards, and they have to take X amount of experience. Then only you can be accepted as a professionally qualified skilled stylist or a beautician. So that's what we like to bring here.
Right. So moving away from the financial and economic aspect of the industry, we'd like to turn towards the social aspect of this particular industry. How important is it to pay attention to the beauty in terms of hair, health, nail and skin for a woman to sort of maintain the balance of society?
I think not only for a woman, for everyone, for a man also, it is absolutely important to maintain yourself, because in beauty, people talk, in beauty first comes health and hygiene. There is no beauty without health and hygiene. There's no, how can you even talk about a nice set of teeth if it is not brushed? How can you talk about a face if it is not washed? Or hair full of oil, how can you ever admire a head of hair if it is not clean and washed? So health and hygiene is most important. And I think in personality, a personality looks, what you see has to be most important, first impressions. So everyone should be bothered about their looks, and they should be also given the opportunity to develop themselves, given the knowledge. So beauticians also should have the good knowledge, and pass it on to their clients, how help them to put their best foot forward. It's absolutely
Right.
important.
So having said that, so that is the end of the discussion when it comes to the industry. Now I want to talk a little bit about your personality, highlight your personality. So you're a successful pioneer when it comes to the beauty culture industry in Sri Lanka. So I want to talk to the Mrs. Nana Karnathan that everybody is so familiar with, not in terms of the product that you guarantee to deliver, but in terms of the woman you are, that is the entrepreneur you are. How hard has your journey been for you being a female entrepreneur in Sri Lanka?
Actually, everybody is asking me this question, how hard has it been? It has not been hard. I think the reasons are that I have been very focused. So because of the focus, every problem that came up had been, now if you want to see problems, there are so many problems. Every day there will be problems, but every problem has been sorted out because the focus had been there. So this is where I want to go, this is what I want. So all these things have to get sorted out according to what I want to achieve eventually. And it's been a step-by-step situation, because as I told you, at the age of 15, all I wanted was to become a hairdresser. All I wanted to become. So by the time when I was about, I worked for Janet for 2 years, and I was very impressed, and I was also influenced a lot by her. Then I wanted to open one of my own salon one day, a salon. So I never expected to end up with 10, 12 salons. I wanted one salon. So when I have one, then why can't I have another? You know, that is how it grew. So, and then you meet a lot of people. Then I also found that teaching was part of my capability, and I heard about this job called beautician for Air Lanka, so I wanted to become the Air Lanka beautician. So I searched, found out how to apply all that, and I was lucky to get the job. But when I got the job, I realized, no, this is not a beautician's job. This is a trainer's job. You have to train people. And I also realized, shockingly, that you have to train people first, not to how to put makeup and hairstyle, but how to be clean, how to be committed. Now, to be an air hostess, she has to be first clean. Her uniform has to be clean, it has to be ironed, and she has to have the desire. We had some air hostesses who used to travel to Paris and come with one lipstick and one eyebrow pencil. Even a lady like you would never do that. Going on holiday abroad for 2 days, you would have more cosmetics in your bag. It's lack of interest. So then we realize that attitudes have to change. People have to be made understand their responsibilities, how positive they should be. So I understood what had to be taught to develop personalities more than applying makeup, and also found out that I had a little bit of talent with that. Also, I must say, I had huge support from Air Lanka, because I worked with the training center. I worked with local and foreign trainers. So in that aspect also I grew. And what I think those things have also helped me in my personal life.
Right. So my final question to you is, the reason we brought you here today for our business today is so that the younger generation can learn from your legacy. So in terms of you leaving behind a message to the younger generation, even if it's a small message that you would be able to give to, if you had the chance, give to your personality 15 years ago, what sort of message would you like to give out?
I would like the younger generation to first find out for themselves what they want to do. It's perfectly all right to change your course halfway through. Like you want to be a chef and then 2 years later you decide you want to be a beautician. It's perfectly all right. That change can happen. That's very rare though. But you first find out what you want to do. And then once you decide what you want to do, please be professionally qualified in any field. Even if you want to do horticulture, you want to be a gardener, be professionally qualified. Second thing is, the third thing is commitment and hard work. You have to be committed. You have to be committed, and you have to have a lot of hard work. It's a lot of commitment. And for people like us who have families, who have children, who have jobs, so it's and my job. Even this morning, I had to go to work at 6:30. So it upsets your entire system. You have to, so many things have to be done, and you have to start work at 6:30, whereas normally you start at 9. So that is not a headache. it's a pleasure because you love the job. So I think its commitment is and hard work is very, very important. It's not all glamour that we see today. It's not all money. It's not all glamour. It's a lot of hard work. So if you are ready to, if you are willing to do that, you will be 100% successful.
Right. So we'd like to thank you very much for those inspiring words on business. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nana Karnan, for being with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'd like to take a quick break today, and when we come back, we'll have the local and global business stories in detail for you. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Business Today, the 27th of January 2016. We'd like to run through some of our top stories for you today. Won't cause recession, says the Bank of America and China, as they will avoid hard landing. That is the top story for you from overseas. And in other stories, that's the Sri Lankan stock market. The Sri Lankan stock market has been down 0.5% this month, that is within the first 7 days of operation. And in terms of opinion, the rite of passage, a boom and bust cycle of the economy will be analyzed in detail on tonight's show. The ministry to restructure rather than run public entrepreneurs, says Kabir Hashim. And once again, from overseas analysts, Lankans forecast positive growth of local real estate market in 2016. Those are some of the stories for you in brief for you that will be analyzed later on the show. For now, we're ready to give you a quick stock market update for you. Let's look at the stock market for you today. Stock market update is Mr. Tariq Mudlige. He is the head of retail sales. That's the National Asset Management Limited. A very good evening to you.
Good evening.
So today we're going to talk to you about unit trust in Sri Lanka. It's a concept that hasn't been very familiar to many people at home. For those of you who want to know more about unit trust, we have introduced this concept to you a few months ago, but we really want to recapture the concept of unit trust, the pros and cons of investing in unit trust, and importantly to see if this is the ideal time to invest in unit trust. So let's start with the very basic question. Mr. Tariq Mudlige, tell us, what exactly is a unit trust?
Unit trust is in a form of investment where a collective investments into pool of funds which is combined into a trust deed, and there will be a fund manager who's investing the money in the different types of financial instruments, and there is a trustee who's appointed as internal governing party who is overlooking the monitoring part, and they are there to safeguard the investor interest. And then the money invested in unit trust is actually managed by the fund management company, by the expertise professionals, and then it is actually divided into number of units, and the units will be received by the investors, and then whatever the income derived from unit trust is actually divided and distributed among in proportion of the investment. So in simple form, people can invest a small amount and the money is managed by and overlooked by an asset management company. So whatever the income generated through the financial instruments that has distributed into is distributed in proportion of their investment.
Right. So the purpose of this question to you is to find out how investors should be informed of unit trust. So investors are multifold. There are the big corporates who want to dump their large pool of profits into investments so that they'll reap benefits. Then there are pensioners who want to divert all of their hard-earned money into investments. And then there are the normal working class people who just want to make sure that their hard-earned money is channeled to the right savings direction. So everybody at the end of the day is interested in the return they get from the risks they take. How risky are unit trusts, and what sort of a return does it promise?
as far as returns are concerned, I would say if I really look at the long-term perspective of unit trust, I would certainly say unit trust has given good returns over 2 decades almost, and especially the long-term returns have clearly outperformed the benchmark index SPI, and also it has clearly outperformed the interest rates, conventional bank interest rates, as well as inflation. In terms of risk, we generally talk about 2 different types of risk. When it comes to equity, you talk about the systematic and unsystematic risk, where in simple terms, if I tell you the specific risk and the market risk, this risk which is specific to a certain industry or a certain company, and also the market risk, which is inevitably you are exposed in the market, such as interest rate risk, exchange rate risk, and also things like currency risk. By having your investment in unit trust, you can spread out this risk by the means of diversification, and also there is a possibility that you can mitigate the specific risk by investing in number of securities and number of sectors, but the market risk is something which is inevitable. That is something you are generally exposed to, even if you are a unit trust investor. But by selecting the right asset management company, by allowing them to make the right investment decision, you could probably be able to reduce at least mitigate a certain level of risk, which is even related to the market risk. So that is the general risk you are generally exposed to.
Right. So if you have any questions regarding unit trust, the number for you is 2501605. This is Tarak Mudalagir from NAMAL, that is the National Asset Management Limited, is here for you to talk to you about asset management as well as in particular about unit trust. So we're talking a little bit about the returns investors get from investing in unit trust. So in addition to the investment return, what sort of other positive benefits are there for investors?
Well, I would see the diversification is one of the key benefit which you derive from unit trust, where once the investment is in place, you will immediately diversify it into various different types of investments. Even if it's an equity investment, your investment is actually divided into different sectors immediately. And also the other main advantage is the liquidity, where the investors are allowed to pull out the money anytime they want, and except the few close-ended funds which we have in the industry. But that also again mostly listed in the stock exchange, so they have to some extent they have the liquidity. They are in the secondary market, but other than the few close-ended funds, most of the other funds available, almost about 95% of the funds are open-ended funds. They are all liquid and allowed to exit at any time with whatever the accumulated returns. And also I would say other than the liquidity and the diversification, there's always the tax benefit in terms of your investment return, which is actually free of tax in unit trust. And also things like transparency, things like you're saving your time by allowing an asset management company to manage your wealth. Those are also certain benefits that you can derive by investing in unit trust.
Just to recap to that particular comment, so unit trusts are completely tax-free, is it?
The return, the income you generate through unit trust is free of tax.
Right, so there are many benefits that you have mentioned. So there are so many high returns and other benefits that you have just elaborated in detail. So unit trusts, however, in Sri Lanka have a low penetration, especially as opposed to the savings rates and the direct stock market investments. Why is this the trend in Sri Lanka?
It was not really a low penetration as such. If you really look at the statistics during the last few years, especially from 2012 to 2016, there has been a significant growth, even in terms of the assets under management, which has grown from 20 billion level to 130 billion within 4 years, quite a considerable growth. And also, if you look at the head count, the number of unit holders have engaged in the business has also grown from 27,000 to 37,000 within the 4-year period. But as you very correctly said, there is something which haven't exploited by many of retailers, even institutional investors. If you really analyze it, where they have not really exposed into unit trust, maybe I would say because of the lack of awareness, or maybe because of the lack of financial literacy in the market. So that is something I think we want to seriously address, not only us, even that is something the regulators have to look into.
Mr. Mintalik, sorry to interrupt you, but we just had a caller on 2501610 whose question to you was, given the stance of this financial instrument, can a person, an investor, have negative returns as similar to other financial instruments?
There is a possibility. There is a possibility because your investment is exposed to the market risk. But then again, it is something that you initially have to decide before entering into unit trust, whether you really want to have a long-term investment, what is the time frame of your investment, what is the risk appetite you have, whether you are really willing to take a risk, or whether you want to, because it is not an equity investment always. You have different types of unit trust investment, both fixed income as well as equity, and also in equity there are balance funds where the level of risk is reduced. But when you look at equity investments, obviously there is a possibility that you can even lose your capital. As and when the market goes down, there is a possibility that your fund could also go down, because even if you are the best fund manager in the industry, there is nothing much you could do when the entire market declines. In simple language, if it rains, everything gets wet. So similarly, if the whole market declines, there is a possibility that it could also decline temporarily. But it's a matter of whether you are really realizing your loss, or whether you want to be little patient and wait until it recovers.
So that was touching up a little bit about the risks associated with unit trust. Very quick questions I want to ask you. Who can invest in unit trust? Can anybody invest in unit trust?
Simply can anybody. If you look at the general community, those who are above 18, generally considered as adults, can invest in unit trust, locals as well as foreigners. And also minors can join with their parents or guardians and open unit trust accounts. And also corporates, not only local companies, also the foreign companies who want to invest can invest in unit trust, and also that gives them some flexibility to repatriate the money back into their currency. So that is quite flexible.
Right, and is there a minimum amount required to start up investing in unit trust?
Not really. It depends on the type of investment you select. If it is equity based unit trust, you have now products starting from 1,000 rupees. And also there are plans where people can contribute on a regular basis, the systematic investment plans, where you can place a standing order monthly. Sometimes certain companies allow your people to place standing orders free of charge, and they can consistently build up a fund over a long period of time. And also those who want to invest a lump sum, that also possible, and as and when they want to top up, reinvest, that is also allowed.
Well, the Colombo Stock Exchange has been down 0.5%, and in general the past 6-7 months it hasn't been positively performing. But the real estate market, especially regarding the apartment sector, has been performing very positively. It seems to be a lucrative investment. Just my final question to you is, in terms of unit trust, how are the future prospects in Sri Lanka for unit trust?
It's a good question. You pointed out this real estate market along with the unit trust, but it's a two different types of investment. If you really look at the real estate business, obviously you see there's a huge growth potential, there's a potential for high earnings, but as far as the unit trusts are concerned, they are more liquid investment, more liquid form of investment, where you can encash your investment at any given point. When you analyze the market, the future prospects for unit trust, I would say, even according to the McKinsey studies, they have analyzed that the middle income household category will have a better prospect in the next 10 years. Currently, according to the statistics, we have approximately about the middle income category represent around 49% of the entire household population, which have forecasted to increase up to 69% by the end of 2025, which will be one of the important sector for unit trust, where they have a discretionary income, which is actually, in simple terms, the income in addition to the normal primary expenses. Those who have the ability to save something for a longer term, maybe on a regular basis, will have the potential for growth by another 20%. So that could be one of the important elements where the unit trust companies should consider, and where they should streamline their product lines to capture that particular market segment.
Alright, with that very evaluative explanation regarding unit trust and how lucrative unit trust market is in Sri Lanka, we'd like to wrap up this segment of financial news for you on Business Today. Thank you very much, Mr. Tharak Amutalake, that's the head of Retail Services National Asset Management Limited. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
With that, we'd like to move on to some local and global business stories in detail now. So let's take a look at some top stories. Business story for you today from overseas is that won't cause recession, says the Bank of England and China, as they try hard to avoid landing. Whatever does cause the next global recession, it probably won't be China, according to Bank of America Merrill Lynch. The analysis believe the world's second largest economy will avoid a hard landing, and risks from financial market turbulence can be contained by the Chinese government, according to a Bloomberg report. And the American analyst says that they do not view the slowing of Chinese growth as having a sizable spillovers in developed markets generally, but certain economies will be harder hit than others. Although China's slowdown will affect investor confidence, it certainly won't unduly affect of the global economy based on the analysis of trade, our portfolio and commodity channels. Billionaire investor George Soros recently predicted China's economy was headed for a hard landing, which will worsen global deflationary pressures. Also, William Bruter, chief economist at Citigroup Incorporation, said his best case is for the world to suffer recession-like growth of less than 2% this year. However, contrary opinions have been expressed by Virgin Group founder Sir Richard Branson, as he believes that the markets are overseeing. His statement to the media earlier this week was that he thinks that the markets are far as they do overreact, and he thinks that they're forgetting the reason that oil is priced at such a low level is excess of over demand, and that is a good thing. Richard Branson also said that the only people who are going to suffer from it are obviously oil producing nations and oil companies, as consumers, airlines and most businesses will benefit from the $25 per barrel oil, he added. According to Branson, oil prices could stay low for a very long time. And he also added that he thinks that personally oil is to stay low for some time to come, and that you've got a clean energy revolution that has been agreed upon in Paris coming along, and you could see a situation where oil never really goes above $40 per barrel for many years to come, if ever. Economist Joseph Stiglitz in Colombo this month highlighted why the Indian economy was a bright spot in South Asia, again blocking the global trend. And in local stories, the top story for you is that the Colombo stock market closed 0.5%, and that is a negative sentiment of the investors continuing for a second consecutive day with losses in heavy indexes, says Colombo's prominent stockbrokers. With the Colombo benchmark all share price index closed down 31.96 points at 6,322.87, down by 0.5%. Meanwhile, S&P SL20 closed 22.23 points down at 3,276.43, that is down by 0.62%. Turnover, however, was 341 million rupees, with 49 stocks closing positive against 91 in the negative. The main index showed losses, that is primarily due to John Keel's holdings, and the stocks closing at 153 rupees and 70 cents, which is down by 3 rupees and 30 cents. Meanwhile, John Keel's holdings hit a 52-week low at the price of 150 rupees and 10 cents. Ceylon Cold Stores closed at 409 rupees and 50 cents, down by 15 rupees and 50 cents. And with that, we'd like to wrap up this episode of Business Today. Thank you very much for being part and parcel of today's show. Thank you very much.
From Etisalat. If it's internet, it's Etisalat.
I shuffle. I shuffle.
I Shuffle every Monday at 9:30 p.m. on Channel I.